Welcome to Command Control Power, the longest-running Apple consulting podcast. For over a decade, we've delivered weekly episodes filled with epic tech support stories, troubleshooting insights, discussions about managing clients and businesses, and interviews with industry colleagues and vendors, all tailored for our pro listeners. We also offer exclusive content through Patreon. This private podcast feed is designed specifically for IT professionals, providing valuable advice and guidance on tackling the more complex aspects of running your practice, working with clients and employees, and managing device fleets. With a modest monthly contribution, you'll gain access to a wealth of advanced Apple expertise, meaningful connections, and a community driven by a shared passion for Apple technology. Visit commandcontrolpower.com and click support to learn more. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. We're back with you for a public episode here, and Jerry will be joining us in a few. Hey, Sam. How you doing?
Hey, can I just say that with this virtual background, I got half a mic on the screen unless I stand in front of it. I just want to call out that when we were at the conference in San Jose, Justin Esgar told me I should not have my mic in my face up here. He said it should be below or off screen. So I'm just I'm shoving this in the screen just for Justin in case he's listening to this.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm sure he'll appreciate the mic coming in and out of appearance there. I try to put mine. I put mine over here, so yeah, you can.
Yeah, I should put it up, but I don't know how well I know nothing about audio, so we'll see how this comes.
Yeah, I don't think this mic placement is ideal really for either, and it's a subtle thing to try to put it close enough but not in frame or especially with the virtual background situation, because then you start things start moving, masking out or whatever. Anyway, so how's your week going? This is a short week for you. Did you work on Monday or?
A little bit. I had some stuff to do, but we also moved my daughter into college for her senior year, so that was most of our day. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's always fun, just lugging crap around. Sure. At least I have a teenage son that can lift stuff with me.
They can help. Nice.
Yeah. Both kids were very helpful, actually. She knows where everything goes, and there's a whole family affair. It was fun.
Nice. Hey, Jerry's got his ad up behind him there. Mac Home Remote Support, easy as 1, 2, 3. And so I remember you producing this. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
It looks like a subway sign, subway lines 1, 2, and 3. And it has,
Is there any gum under the railings there, Jerry?
Yeah, good question. Nice.
Probably.
Have you ever done any physical advertising in person? Like, I wonder, Jerry, you just were telling the story on the Patreon episode about your visit to New York City and things like that. Can you imagine seeing your ad actually in the subway or something like that? I don't know that I would want that type of client inquiry necessarily. Like, I don't want to just say, everybody call, because we have a specific niche approach and we're more of a boutique. We don't, and that's going to be really expensive anyway. But have you ever done anything like that, either of you guys?
I know I have. I'm curious to know, Jerry. I'll let you go first there, buddy.
Sam, I know years ago you told a story about being on the show where you showed up at a Norwalk fair or something like that. And you had a tent set up.
Yeah, the Oyster Festival.
Oh, yeah.
No one up.
little charging station. I did in the early days. I went to a couple of maybe photography things and had a little table set up. And it was during the days when the Drobo first came out. And so I was running a video on my laptop, and the big Drobo dog and pony show was you could live pull out a hard drive while it was running.
And it would play. Yeah.
Yeah. But that could be easily faked. So every time anybody would come up to my table, I'd go, no, but really the movie's on the Drobo. The movie's not on my computer. It's on the Drobo. But there was no way for them to see how fantastic that was.
They're like,
but
cool.
No, I spent a lot of money on a banner one time, like a professional banner that you'd use at a trade show that you roll up. And
oh, sure.
It's been in my basement for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never had a need for it.
I had something like that too. We did something at Costco one time. It was like a partnership with some kind of fundraising, or we had our banner up, and we got no calls from that. But you know what? One thing we did do that did fare pretty well was, more than like just a print thing, was I used to speak at like Merrill Lynch and those companies. They would do like these one night a week presentation of certain topics for their investors. And somehow we got on that little chain there. And I used to go and like present on the iPad. And I'm like, here's how you can use your iPad for home and work use. And I would like present to a room of maybe 20 people or something. But inevitably something came out of that here and there. But that was probably the best. Anything else didn't really work for us, honestly.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, it's hit or miss. Yeah, no, same. I did in the very, very early days, I did I think it was just a classified ad, or it might have been an actual like newspaper ad. Yeah, I don't think it was a classified ad. I think it was like whatever the smallest thing they would sell, like a little tiny little square. And it just had like my company name before my current company name and like my phone number. And I don't even know if I had a website at that time, honestly, or an email. It was probably, if anything, it was my mac.com email. It was like very early days. And I thought nothing ever came of it. And then there was one day, it was like a year or two later, and I've told the story on the show before, but I went to a client and I didn't realize how she had found me. And I see posted up on her like bulletin board behind her computer was my little ad. And that client referred me to, I don't think we still work with her, or haven't worked with her in probably 5+ years, but she referred us to a business that we ended up working with for a very long time. That's all it takes, right? As they say, if you have an ad and you think you get no calls, you get one call, it turns into a paying client. It paid for the ad, certainly, and then some. So it was worth it in that sense, but it's hit or miss. You never know.
Used to be called Little Joe's Computing, right?
Wow.
Remember this is a regional reference, but you guys remember the Bargain News?
Yeah, that I haven't heard that name in a really long time. Yeah. The Bargain. I remember the name. It was like a newspaper specifically like classifieds and like local.
Exactly. And
stuff.
cars.
Yeah.
But you could put an ad in the Bargain News and people would pick it up weekly. And they would sell it at convenience stores. And it was heavily traded here in the Connecticut area. Penny saver, right?
Penny saver, sure.
I used to deliver the penny savers.
Wow. See, you could have just stuck your ad right in there. And
we could put
a little young at the time. I wasn't like working for HCS
and delivering papers.
I
know.
You know how like sometimes too, where like people will put up their business card on these bulletin boards. Have you ever guys gotten anything from that?
I've done that. I've definitely gotten clients. I had so I had actually I probably put a few business cards up the same way, but I had a just letter size paper and it had little tear off phone numbers on the bottom, maybe phone number and email or website or company name and phone. And it was a brief little thing about help with your Mac, whatever. I don't even know what I said. And I would stick that up at the local small little mercantile type place or small grocery store. I put one up in the
rescue shelter.
Community college was another one. I don't know what made me think of that. I think I was taking classes there and I thought, oh, there's a bulletin board. Let me stick up my thing here. Like local market, local community college. And I did get calls from both of those. I have a client that works with me to this day that pulled my little number off of there 21 years ago. Same thing with the community college. I picked up a few clients that way. So this stuff does work. It's like you just have to think about where people are going to just glance up and see your ad and think, oh yeah, maybe. I still notice people like that in town in a coffee shop. They advertise piano lessons or therapy or like different things like that. Some are pretty off the wall. Some are like services you use every day. So yeah, you just.
It's funny. My son plays guitar and he's been putting up guitar lesson flyers at the local markets. And it occurred to me, he didn't put like how old he was or anything like that. He's 16. And I guess some woman, I think in her 40s or 50s, was looking to learn guitar and called him up and he's like, what do I do? He's like, do I go over there? I'm like, I'm not really sure, man.
Yeah.
It was just funny. He's like, do I tell her how old I am? Like, I was like, it's probably a good idea to like, I'm in high school. I'm doing my first lesson. It didn't go anywhere, but it was funny.
That's a good point. Because if they're expecting like a seasoned professional, like with a lot of touring credentials and like studio recording credits and then like your son shows up.
He said, I need a ride.
High school kid.
Because I don't have a license yet. So I think I got to ask my mom if I could get a ride. And she's
Wait, huh? Yeah. Oh, man. That's funny. You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. Yeah.
But in terms of what we were talking about there with the flyers and stuff like that, what I did a couple times at work is we used to have some tag sales. Sometimes we had extra stuff in the house and I put my flyer on the table and we got a couple of clients that way actually, where people were like, back then you would rip off a piece of paper like with your number on it with your email address. And we got a couple of calls from that. Nothing big, but everything is possible to work. It's just how much effort you want to put into it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I figure why not? Especially if you're just starting out and you're looking to get some clients. To me, that's like just the kind of wild card factor, the random factor. If you're just,
Yeah.
if you stick something up on a wall somewhere, yeah, like I said, it's hit or miss, but like the randomness is interesting. Like you might get someone who ends up being a perfect fit and they just found you on some random way like that. That's how I got a lot of those initial clients that sustained me for a lot of years. Versus these days, everybody thinks about digital and highly targeted. The more you know about your potential clients, the more you can target that specific market and their pre-qualified leads and all this stuff. And you have a sales funnel, and but don't overcomplicate it. Like people just need to know that they can pick up the phone and try to call you and see if it sounds like a fit. It doesn't have to all be digital through Google AdWords and whatever else.
Yeah, the market is definitely changing. I mean, one of the points I was going to make, and then I'll riff on this, is that I think all of us now are at a price point where if we did have the little tear off, as soon as we told them what our hourly rate was, they would be like, what?
It's a good point. It's probably a good point.
But if you're just starting out and you're just trying to build up some sort of a customer base, it's certainly a good thing.
That's actually a really interesting point. It reminds me of Sam's son just starting out. So like the method of advertising may signal something about your company, or certainly your ad says a lot about you. If it's in the default font and it's just like some text and whatever, like that says something.
Comic Sans.
Yeah, or maybe you switch it to Comic Sans versus you have this professional, polished looking advertisement, and you can still strike a balance between those. You can still advertise in these ways that you're on a bulletin board. It signals that you're just trying to get the thing started and you're just getting off the ground, but it can look polished and show that you have attention to detail or you have a clear aesthetic eye for things. And but that's a really good point that probably that's not where we're getting most of our clients these days because of the price point we're at.
The market has changed, and this is what I was going to bring up earlier, is that I would still like to think that I'm optimized on Google for organic search. So if you put in Mac Consulting Connecticut, we're going to come up on the first page. And it used to be that I would get a certain frequency of calls. And I don't think a lot of times when people say, oh, we're not getting the business anymore, they immediately run out for a web redesign. And I really don't think that, even though I haven't redesigned my web and set my web page in 7 or 8 years, I really don't think it's that far behind where everything goes. And I don't think if I spent thousands of dollars to have somebody create it, or if I spent the time, it would make one iota of difference in me getting calls. But I'm not getting the frequency of calls, the volume of calls that I used to get. And I've shared with you guys some of my Smith AI, who is answering my phone for me, some of the statistics. And I don't know what it is. I think maybe there's so much competition online for eyeballs and stuff like that. And maybe people are using Facebook, or maybe people are using Instagram, but I've shared on this show before that I dabbled my toe in both of these because I think they're a colossal ripoff for people to spend money on Facebook or Instagram, because there's no way they can verify their metrics. They can show you that you've gotten this many engagements and these many people liked your stuff. And these people a lot of times are not even in the same part of the world that you're in. Even if you can you can target it regionally and say, I only want the United States, I only want the Northeast, specifically Connecticut. No matter what you do, I have had very little proof that there's any reason to spend any money there. So I don't know how a business that's been in business for a long time does jump tech companies and moves to another company, other than like you say, getting a referral from the Apple store or somebody who's really Mac specific, how they find these people. And a lot of times we've all encountered this, where we get a client who sends out an inquiry and they're just working with jokers, like people who are not on the ACN list. They got maybe one guy on staff, he's our Mac expert, and you don't know this person from Adam. And not that you would, but Connecticut's a small enough state where we know the players, the cast of characters that rub their elbows in are out there hungry for that Mac business. So
we would consider the legitimate choices for something like that.
Or a viable choice. A lot of times I'm not going to poo some company that I know has been around a long time and they're PC specialists, but I'm not going to necessarily say, yeah, they know Mac. And I lost a very good medical client who was on again and then off again. And then we went back to him for a little bit and then he dropped us again. And he has a company that's managing them and he's got Macs. They're going to in this particular case, their EMR system is web-based. So it's less dependent on having successful operating Macs, as long as the thing can open a browser and get to their EMR system and print the documents or whatever. There's less specificity on people needing Macs in the way that we used to see it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because they're pretty reliable. Like also in general, you just buy a Mac and you could probably, I see it. I see clients who haven't updated in like literally half a year or ever. And it's running the version of macOS that it shipped with a year later. And they just like proudly proclaim they never do updates or whatever. And it actually keeps working. It's what? They can be very reliable, especially when most things people do is quote in the cloud, as Sam's clients point up. And so it's Google Docs, it's gmail.com, it's the EMR that's online in the cloud, quote unquote. Yeah, they can get by with somebody who doesn't really know the Mac. That's a good point.
It's deceiving though too, because it seems to work so well and all that stuff. They don't know that anything can hit them at any time. And that's unfortunately, true. And I'm sure we've talked about this many times, but like they have to have a lesson learned for that has to happen. And almost, I know there are services like KnowBe4 and all these that'll try and trick them into, but I feel like there should be some sort of more severe thing that you can do with maybe owner's approval or something.
I got an idea. Yeah. Start a company where we do like that user training, phishing training, right?
Yeah.
But we actually take the money out of their account and we keep it.
That sounds legit.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sorry, this is for your own good. There's no way that you will learn this lesson unless I just keep your money that I took out of your account. You just have to, better me than some hacker in Russia.
You had this legit idea. You're like, hold on, I got this idea. I want to hear what Joe has to say here.
No, but we should honestly spitball this. I'm not suggesting that we actually go and take money out of people's accounts, but like to your point about like, some people they have to lose data, they have to lose money, they have to lose, or they don't learn their lesson. There are some people also who have lost data and have not learned their lesson. They also exist. I've spoken with one recently. Maybe not, but yeah, maybe there's a service where they can think that I clearly am not going to take money from their account, but they can have. It's like these phishing services should maybe put an email in their inbox that looks like it went out to everyone in the company from their account or something. So that didn't actually happen, but they are afraid that it did for at least a moment where they can viscerally feel like, okay, I really need to get serious about security. I definitely don't want that. I'm glad that wasn't real and I'm not going to make that mistake.
Honey, I left fire drill.
Honey, I lost the payroll.
Yeah.
Sam, where's your traffic coming from in terms of new clients? Are they Apple referrals or?
It's been quiet lately, but it's been organic for the most part. Like we got one from Jamf, actually, interestingly enough, not too long ago, where, I don't know, it just so happened they needed some help and they reached out to us, which was nice. But yeah, Apple's always trying I know we've joked about different things with the store relationships and things like that, but I feel like they are always trying. It's just not always, sometimes it's a great fit. Sometimes it's not so great of a fit, but it has been like that, like through either Apple or some kind of, I have a friend who met you years ago. Yeah. But it's been quiet lately, Jerry, for new leads.
Yeah. And I've shared this on the show years and years ago that I used to go into the Apple store and feel like the ugly girl who wasn't picked for the prom, that I couldn't possibly get the right time of day from anybody who was on the business team. Ever.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing it. Years ago, I stopped doing it. And am I missing out? I don't know. I just think that Apple sometimes has initiatives where they want to have the business team do more engagement. And the last thing they want to do a lot of times is pass on the business to someone else. If they can do whatever they can, get them working with Business Essentials and try to retain that relationship, I think they're more inclined to do that.
It might depend on the size of the customer too, right? But yeah, I hear you too.
They need. The support they need. Apple's interest is selling hardware and services, mostly hardware. And so the business team wants to move boxes. Obviously, that's what any sales group will do. And so they will, and how do you move boxes? If you have somebody in the store, you might sell some hardware. So to your point, they do have an incentive to invite business customers to come back to the store and come in for what they used to call the one-to-one sessions, or whatever variety of sessions they have now, where you can learn about iPhone photography or how to use, the Numbers app to run your business, or use Business Essentials to manage your mobile devices, or whatever it is. So they're going to have you come into the store up until a point where that's not a good fit. If you're coming to the store and you're spending hours picking the brain of one of the, I don't know if they call them geniuses anymore, for support, that's not really Apple's business model. Yes, to a point, they want them to come to the store and want to keep the relationship first party and direct with the client. But as soon as the client outgrows, like to Sam's point, maybe the size of the client is too big, or the types of questions or the technical debt is too high, or whatever, they will refer them to the Apple Consultants Network. I think that's the main pathway right now. Apple Professional Services is another level, especially if they're hundreds and up size company, or this type of gig they need or whatever. But just knowing that, all you can really do these days is be in the Apple Consultants Network locator and rank for that location, where the client might be coming from. And yes, to some degree, if you have a relationship with the person who's the business specialist or business, whatever the different titles are, someone on the business team, if they are aware of your company, they can potentially point the client toward your company among all the results on the locator and show you some favorable treatment, probably, whether that's just a personal thing or there's a formal process, I don't know. But that's a way to encourage leads to come your way. That's about all you can do, though, is just like hope then. So yeah, show up to the store maybe so they know who you are. For me, I'm not anywhere near the stores that my clients are coming from. And my relationship with the business team is on the phone, and maybe sometimes through email. And that's usually, it takes the form of, we have a mutual client who needs a computer or 10 computers. And that's on Apple's radar, and they're gonna work with you on that, and they're gonna maybe ask you a little bit about how you work and what you do and what kind of clients are a good fit for you. That's been my experience, and I will get the occasional lead that way. A lot of times it's a lot more random. They find me through the locator just organically. I shared the story recently on Patreon of a new client who came to me all but pre-qualified by ChatGPT. It was amazing. Like, he got my info through the ACN locator by way of ChatGPT. And he had this dialogue with ChatGPT, like asking questions about how to get help with his Mac and whatever. And eventually ChatGPT said, hey, by the way, there's this thing called the Apple Consultants Network, and there's this locator. And he found me that way, and he was like ready to sign up. So that was an amazing outcome. ChatGPT is a source of referrals indirectly, but the idea of ranking on the locator is really the main source of anything, or like Sam said, existing clients.
Did they tell you if they just got to ChatGPT, which then took them to the locator, or it took them to you on the locator?
I think it just brought them to the locator, and then they've put in their info, and I came up in the results.
All right.
Yeah.
You need a rep in that Greens Farms there, Sam.
Yeah, that's the Greens Farms location. Tricky.
Yeah, you need that.
Hey, that's where my clients are. That's where I started the company. It's where I've always been. And I don't know if they were in that neighborhood particularly or where they were, but yeah, that's
cool though. And all jokes aside, that's pretty interesting.
Works. Yeah.
I'd be curious to put in stuff to ChatGPT and see how it gets me there, like trying an organic conversation, see what occurs.
That's a good point. Ranking on Google is old fashioned now. It's about, does the bot know about you? Or the many bots? That's why you got to have a good relationship with AI, which, Jerry, you have. Have you talked to AI about your business and referrals? Like, you can ask it to send people your way, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if that would work. It's like the vanity searches that you would do with Google. So you'd have to open up a private window, like with Google, you'd open up a private window and you'd probably get on a VPN.
Yeah.
Maybe in Connecticut or somewhere close to really see what it's doing for you. So I think if I opened up my ChatGPT, I would get stilted data.
Yeah, it knows who you are in particular. And it would probably also tell you what you want to hear. Oh, yeah, I've been sending lots of referrals your way. So,
How's that relationship going, Jerry? Everything good there?
Yeah.
No, I got a better relationship with my bird. By the way, I got my flu shot. When you get
you're rubbing your arm, does it hurt?
I just noticed that. Yeah.
Sam, you were about to maybe say something. I don't know if I cut you off about ACN and maybe being a little more hopeful about things after the technical summit.
Yeah.
We can't talk about the content there, but we can say that we feel more hopeful from what we experienced there.
That's where I was gearing towards with that. Yeah. I see something that looks good for us that I'm hopeful for.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll stop there.
Yeah, same. Yeah, but again, it's like the old recommendation of you've got to be in the locator, so you've got to be a part of the ACN, which to your point earlier, Jerry, it's really funny that a lot of clients we inherit have no concept of getting support through Apple, finding out about the AC or anything like that. They're working with someone who's definitely not in the locator and who they may even just be a fly-by-night operation or like a Windows only company that agrees to the Mac and grumbles about it the whole time. And they seem to think that's their only option, really. They don't even know to look elsewhere until they find their way. But yeah, that was one win recently from that. There was also one where a local, a company we've known for a long time who does FileMaker support, I guess has been working with who's a client who's now become our client for a long time. And they have internal IT, but he needed some help and got referred to us and was thrilled to find us as like this kind of backup for his internal protocols and things. So yeah, existing vendor client relationships, existing clients, and certainly through the Apple Consultants Network, those have been the best sources for us.
And of course, I go on the show and I always moan the blues, and I always attribute it to regionally, I'm not demographically in the same area that you guys. And I don't know how much of that really comes into play. It could be just my prickly personality.
I'm sure it's a big part of it because there's stuff we talk
prickly
about.
Personality?
Yeah, yes. I know there's stuff where I realize that certain service offerings or certainly like pricing models and things work in certain areas of the country and don't work everywhere. And so that's definitely part of it is like, yeah, there's just.
And when you guys talk about your particular Apple store, it's not my Apple store.
Yeah, exactly.
In my case, yeah. Which is right on the Yale University campus and probably has a different profile than the Stanford.
That's a good point too. I'm sure it's 90% students that are getting support there, which is not your market. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's very important difference there. What's the other closest one to you, Jerry?
There's one up
West Farms, is that?
West Farms, up in Farmington. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that geographically where you are these days isn't necessarily as important, but it does play a role when someone's looking. It also depends on the business that they're in as well. If they want someone to come over and come by and do something, then it's going to play a huge role. But if they know they can be supported almost completely remotely, then it's a little easier.
It is a good point because I do feel like a lot of those referrals are still geographic. Although like the client I mentioned, he's got like one computer somewhere out west and he found us because of our location in Connecticut, but I've done support for him now exclusively remotely and he's got an office out closer to me like that. So it's just, I'm not, this location where I sit is not in the locator. So it's just, geographic. It still sends referrals our way, but it's not really that as relevant anymore.
Yeah. And of course, people still read reviews if they do land on Google or they do land on the ACN locator. So it really is important to try to engage with the client at the time of service. So one thing that I've been meaning to talk about on the show, I don't have them to show, but for very inexpensive money, you can go on Amazon or you can go on Alibaba and get an NFC size credit card, and you could program it to just completely to when they connect with the person's phone or their Mac, it dumps them onto your review page. So even before you're out the door, you could say once let's say it's a one-off and you've settled the bill, you could just present this card and they click through and all of a sudden they're on the review page.
That's
and
pretty
you can say, just sometimes it doesn't work because you just need to get out of there. Sometimes it go to your next appointment, but sometimes it does. Yeah. Or you could draft up through ChatGPT a little thing like, it was a pleasure working with you. You know, what really helps us stay in business, or worded a little bit more professionally than that, is your feedback. So please take a moment to give us your feedback.
Yeah.
Because
that helps a lot. I need
does
some
help
new
a lot.
reviews. Yeah. I haven't been asking for reviews and I haven't received really any reviews of late. And I know, I think, I forget what the advice is. Like, you're not really supposed to target just happy customers or something, or you certainly don't want to ask people for a positive review, like according to Yelp or whatever. It's like, you shouldn't try to filter this and screen this to be just positive. But of course, that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to ask a client who I know is not happy or we parted ways with for a review, like on the way out the door, can you review us? But there's some clients that have come up recently that I know are very happy with us and probably would be happy to actually share that. So that's a good, that's probably a good time to ask them, is to say, hey, if you don't mind, it really helps us if you give us a review. So I have a blurb I can use. Do you do that, Sam? Do you care about reviews? Do you ask clients for reviews over the years?
I do care, but I always forget.
Yeah.
And I probably should, while the relation, like, again, we have ongoing relationships as you do. Like, it'd probably be good when you're still in the romance phase to ask for that.
Exactly.
And they're very happy to do so at the time. And
right.
I don't know. It's interesting. I rarely will leave a negative review for anything. I don't review a lot, to be honest, at all. But I just left my own negative review for a car dealership. This is not to do with our business, of course, but I've been shopping for a car with my daughter and we had a really awful experience. And I was like, that's it. Like, I posted a negative review, which I don't know, like I've tend to not do for a business, for a restaurant, for, let's say, maybe that's because I got a buddy that owns a restaurant.
Right.
And I feel very sensitive to that, where if someone's working hard and one person has a bad experience, I think that's tough. But I feel a little bit differently about car dealerships. But anyway, side note to that, it was just brought me down that side. But going back to your question, I don't ask for it a lot. And there was a time when I did, and I think I just gave up on it. I just stopped caring, but I probably should care about it more.
There's a couple of reasons I think I asked, because I had one or two clients recently comment that they found me through the locator. They ended up on my website. They actually remarked that we looked at a few websites and we liked yours. We liked the impression we got about your company from your website. And I have some client testimonials, like a little one sentence snippet there of things that people have said about me, about Tim, about my company in general. If you quote them on your website, because you know they're probably going to end up on your website. If they're going to call you or contact you, they're going to get to your website probably first. And so that's a good place to highlight some of those reviews. I also have this little Squarespace feature thing where it's this like little wavy, it's like just this text that flies by in the one column on the right. And it shows like one word, like adjectives that people have said about us, whatever. So again, you have to just put the like humility aside and just be self-promotional. That's the whole point of this exercise. And somebody gets to your website, they want to know how they're going to feel about working with you. And so you have some words that people have said about you. And that's the kind of an impression you can give your potential clients about how it might be to work with you. So I have those one-off words, series of words that fly by. Yeah. And then I have some little testimonials and a page where they can click through. I have not updated that in a little while. And so it's a reminder to me to maybe ask for some more feedback, to be posted to the ACN locator. That's probably the number one place I think I want to have that, but also Google and Yelp, I think, are the two others that we typically, like, we have in our little snippet of review requests. And then from there, pull out some new ones potentially for their website, because I think I don't know if websites seem old school or something at this point, but that's, I think, like one of the first things or only things that people might see about you. So when you're trying to screen for new clients or get people, going back to your site, Jerry, do you feel like, or do you have a sense of, are people landing on your website and just not picking up the phone? Or is there much less traffic going to your website? Do you have a sense of, is it working for you? Like, you want that to be, I hate to use a marketing term, a sales funnel. You want that to, people who land on the site, what's their next action? They should really call you and say, hey, here's what's going on, or email you.
Yeah, there's certainly ways that you could track that with Google Analytics that I used to pay a lot more attention to that. It doesn't mean, oh, he's not paying attention to it. Now he's not getting the calls. I would just look at it. I wouldn't necessarily arrive at any conclusions, but sometimes people will be on your website for like 12 seconds. But it's not necessarily telling either, because they could be looking for an iMac repair or something like that. So there's really no way of ultimately knowing. So no, Joe, I haven't paid attention to that in a long time. Speaking of Google reviews, it can also work to your disadvantage. I got a 1 star. This is my most recent review, put up 4 weeks ago. I shared it with you guys. And
the wrong company, though.
He said, yeah, this company is incompetent and only want to get paid. That's fair criticism.
We do want to get paid.
Our phone system has not worked properly since we moved in 2 months ago. They said that's what you signed up for. So I have no idea who this guy is. We don't do phone systems.
Right.
And you could, as the owner, you can put a reply. So my reply was, and this was, thank you, ChatGPT. We have no record of ever performing any work for you, and our company does not install or service phone systems. This review does not reflect any actual interaction with our business and appears to be a case of mistaken identity or fake review. We take the accuracy of online reviews seriously and respectfully request that this be removed. Of course, Google, in its infinite wisdom, never removed it. I'm going to report it again.
So you can reply as the owner, but you have to also report it to like request that they take it down or something.
Exactly.
Can the user, if they see it, can they take it down? Can they delete it?
They can. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just need to see that and be like, whoops, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I realized as you were telling your story, Sam, about leaving a negative review for the car dealership, because oftentimes that feels like one of our only recourses with any of this stuff. It's like you have a bad experience, at least you want to report it. I think I'm more inclined to leave a negative review about a product rather than a service, and certainly more inclined to leave a positive review about a service if I have a particularly good experience. And I feel like in the service business, we have a good perspective on that. Like I can evaluate the quality of a service offering pretty well because I know like what I try to do for my clients and the kinds of support we get from other vendors and other service providers that we have to coordinate with as the business we're in. I have an experience where they follow up and they do what they say and they charge a reasonable rate and all those things. Like I'm more inclined to report that versus, I may not report a negative interaction if it's just like par for the course these days or something, if it's about a service, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm more inclined to say it about a product. If that's,
The local business, I don't touch it. If it's negative, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, no, I was telling Joe this like a moment ago too. Like I think this particular situation felt very bait and switchy and shady.
Your car dealership.
Yeah. So that's the reason I wanted to ward off other people and be like, don't go here for that reason. It wasn't just like a salesperson had a bad day, because those types of things can happen. You have a bad interaction, the personality is different. That's one thing, but this was like a practice that this dealership followed, and I really disagreed with it heavily.
They're all mafia though, Sam. You're kind of like.
Yeah, you're playing with fire now.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It'd be a shame if all your tires were deflated when you woke up in the morning because they were cut with a knife.
It'd be a shame if something should happen to your fingers and you weren't able to leave another bad review in the future.
That's why I have Siri, boys.
Yeah, exactly. That's your only recourse. Oh, man. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I should leave more positive and negative reviews as they happen to just do my part. Cause that's like you said, you don't want someone else to fall prey to the same like problem. But
I just had this little memory in my head about this guy that we had a client that had one kind of offshoot person that worked for the owner. He was not an employee, but helping the owner with a project. So he got a PC for him and it wasn't maintained by us and all this stuff. So it was bad practice all around. We were like, probably shouldn't do that. Anyway, they've ended on bad terms, or not so great terms, I'll say. So the owner's, I want his computer wiped because we bought it. I'm like, I now can't do that remotely because you didn't let us manage it, or we didn't roll it. We had to coordinate with the person to wipe the computer, and he was aware of it. So that was okay, but called him and I'm like, all right, so they want the computer wiped. He's like, oh, yeah, I know. They said something. I'm like, all right, so just so you know, the computer is we're going to this is going to be a reset command, and it's going to be like it came out of the box for the very first time. No data on it. He's like, okay, got it. He's like, but I'll still have my OneDrive, right? And I'm like, no. I'm like, we're going to erase it. So if you think of it, if you go to the store and you pick it up for the first time, none of your stuff is on there. He's like, okay. So I start going through the process. What about my apps? I'm like, okay, dude. I'm like, this goes on a few different times. And I'm like, no, it will all be gone. And this is company data, and I'm trying to keep my cool with him. Yeah. So anyway, ultimately, the reset failed. It wasn't working. Like it's in the Windows side, you can say reset this PC and erase all my data. And it failed a few times. So I was like, listen, I got to call you back. I don't have time to finish this. We'll figure this out tomorrow. So then I decided a different route I was going to take. So I call him back the next day. He's free. And he's like, I tried it like 12 more times after we hung up and it didn't work. I'm like, yeah, after the first couple, don't keep doing that. I'm like, all right, so we give this another try. And I'm like, we're going to go about it this way. He's okay. He's like, I just got one question. I'm like, what about my bookmarks?
Oh my God. He's trolling you. There's no way that's real.
No, this guy is really so dumb. I was like, you're not for real. And I'm like, oh, I spent like another 15 minutes on the phone. I was like, I slacked Matt. I'm like, you're going to have to take this one. I'm like, I just can't. Like, I can't handle this personality. I can't handle the stupidity. I just can't.
So that's someone who's like not paying attention. They're just not even listening at a certain point.
And over and over again. It's just
wow.
Unbelievable. So I had to share that with you guys because it was just driving me bonkers. Man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I got no segue from that, but I got two more little things to wrap us up. No, it's always good because we can all relate to this story of the client who is just not getting it and maybe probably doing 5 other things and not paying attention to the call.
Exactly.
Scheduled. Yeah. This comes up all the time. This is not a new issue. Oh man. Okay. Sorry. I have to highlight this. Mike Kingsley said the exact thing that I was going to joke earlier. Surely I'm going to have my deleted items at the end of this, right? Yeah. He says, what about the trash folder? Yeah. Oh my God. That's exactly right. Oh man. I was waiting for you to say that. I'm going to have my trash. Mike picked up on that. I love it. Okay. So yeah, switching gears back to Unify. We were talking about them in just a previous show. This happens all the time. Multiple disconnections on WAN 1, right? You get these reports, or you get the down alert and then you get the up alert. Or the other thing is the internet is dropping packets or whatever they say, like high latency, right? So these things happen all the time. You don't know who to blame. Is it the ISP that's actually having interruptions? A lot of times it seems like it's at night that this happens, like in the middle of the night. Maybe the modem reboots or something. Maybe, okay, good. Unify detected that. That would make sense. Yeah. But we don't really know if that's actually true or not. So I'm curious if you guys have tried this, or any listeners out there live or later, have you seen the fact that you can create a custom SLA? SLA, I guess, service level agreement. That's the classic term, but I guess Unify is using this to determine like the method of testing to see if the connection is up or how long to wait, etc. Did you know you could do this? I didn't. This is brand new to me that you can actually do this. Yeah. Okay. So you can go into settings and then internet, which is where you'd expect to find this. But then if you just scroll down, test? Yeah, it's going to be on the test. I will be checking later. So you do not click on the specific internet connection, like your local ISP or whatever it is. You just go to settings, internet, and you scroll down to WAN mode, that section where you see if you have 2 WAN connections or whatever, the failover mode. There's a section that says, there's a button, create new SLA. Okay. Oh, cool. And yeah, so instead of leaving it on auto, which is the Unify method, you can do a number of things. So this person on Reddit suggested that their method to work around this Unify issue where, they're getting apparently false reports of the connection dropping. Their method is to do 3 different things. Ping google.com. So just see if you get a response from Google, a ping response. Use a DNS resolve to resolve google.com using 8.8.8.8. And then also resolve google.com using 8.8.4.4. Or maybe take your pick. You could use 1.1.1.1 for Cloudflare if you want to mix and match your DNS upstream providers. But you can basically add like an SLA that does all 3 of those things and specify that all have to fail before it reports the internet as being down, because obviously if any one of those succeeds, you are unfact online, like whether google.com responds to a ping or not. If 8.8.8.8 resolves google.com, like you are sending packets upstream and downstream, so you're online. So really all 3 of those have to fail for it to go down, and they haven't seen any false alerts since doing that.
And you're getting bombarded with reports that these accounts are going down? Is that why?
I'm not bombarded, but there's certain connections that seem to regularly regularly report this, and we're assuming it's a false alarm, but the client has also reported, yeah, the connection goes down sometimes and I have to reboot the modem. So it's not clear if he's having to reboot the modem every time we get a report or whatever. Like, I would like to have a better, more reliable indicator of whether the connection is actually going down or not.
Joe, this is a good pro tip, man.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, I can't believe because I didn't know this was built in. I thought I'd have to do some command line stuff and whatever, but yeah.
But
this is awesome.
Do you put any gravity on that little bar that shows you sometimes when it's dodgy, it goes orange or tan?
Yeah,
color?
that's a good point. I would imagine that would correlate, that little orange bar or whatever, with those reports, but neither, like, it should all be green. If this new SLA like is much more
liberal.
Yeah, liberal. Also, like, I didn't explore this yet because I just wanted to talk about it first, but I wonder if you can set a response time and whatever. So the other thing I'll tie into this was Uptime Robot as we wrap up here. Uptime Robot has the ability to wait before sending you the email. It'll say, okay, if it doesn't respond to a ping or whatever your method is for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, like, that's one thing. Sure, you can say, check every 5 minutes or check every 10 minutes or 1 minute or whatever. So yeah, sure, maybe you don't check as often, or maybe you still want to check frequently, but you can actually go into the settings where you specify what it does if it detects a failure, whether an SMS message or an email message or a push notification or whatever. In that section, you can say, wait this amount of time before sending the email or the SMS. So maybe you send the email, but not the SMS or whatever. But that's really useful because a lot of times I'm getting a thing that says, the internet was down, internet's back up. It was down for 1 minute and 42 seconds. I'm like, I don't care if it's back up within 2 minutes. So this is how you avoid hearing about it in the first minute, because that'll
cut down the noise.
Cut down the noise on the false alarms. So
now, with that service line agreement in place for your intranet, it doesn't spit out a report. You're not getting the email then if you have one of these action that are in
Well, that's correct. If it's only down for a minute or a minute and a half or whatever, and I say wait 2 minutes, I'm not getting any report of that. However, I think it does. It shows
not the
up
robot.
Oh, sorry.
Not the Uptime Robot.
In this Unify?
Let's say you didn't have that.
Yeah.
I would assume it would still log it. You're just not getting alerted.
Wait, in Unify, I would say if you change the SLA to this one that pings Google, resolves Google using 2 different DNS resolvers, if all 3 fail and there's an actual outage, of course you're going to get the report and it's down and it's going to be in the little like bar graph thing, whatever. But if one of these is up, it's up. So you're not going to hear about it. So I guess you're saying,
I think what he's asking, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is you won't hear about it, but it should still at least log it if you go and look at the logs in Unify.
Oh, maybe. So in the sense of, your modem is dropping packets or your modem went offline. Yeah, you probably still, like, those would seem like false alarms a lot of the time. Those may still...
I'm just curious. I'd be happy to see less noise, but that's
right.
Mike Kingsley also reported in the chat. Actually, he knows about this feature and he tested it on his home network so far, but not yet for the clients. Yeah, I'm curious if anyone out there else is using this, if it has fixed that problem, because again, these false alarm alerts are annoying. But is there a downside, like to Jerry's point about maybe you don't find out if there is a systemic issue with the modem that drops regularly or whatever, even though, because the new SLA might wait longer and like it gets a response, then it doesn't log the fact that it took a minute for Google to reply to a ping or something.
I'm going to play around with this feature though, because I think this could be very, very useful, because I have a few specific locations that are just giving me these false flags a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Not false, it's exactly what you're talking about.
But that's the thing. I think some of them are false. I think that that's also just a false alarm. In other words, it might be that Google's or Unify's default SLA like test is down sometimes. If they're just if it's like ping.unify.com or whatever, ping.ui.com, I think something like that may just stop responding in the middle of the night when every single test is running on all time zones, or somebody has, if enough people have some particular method of doing something, that might result in like it's slow to respond at that hour. I don't know. So it could be their problem and not our local ISP even. Yeah. Stefan Oberle says that Unify is getting better every month, especially with their firewall. I will agree that I feel like they have been Like, I've been liking the improvements I've been seeing from Unify just in general. It seems stable and the interface is useful. I've been happy with them.
Yeah, definitely major improvements over the vast amount of time that we've been using them. But I like the innovation on the new products and everything. So I'm really happy with Unify.
Yeah. I guess something we'll circle back on another show. Just to note, this came up on a recent, I think it was a Patreon show about AI note taking and environmental impact. Benjamin Morales just flagged this to have a discussion. I thought it was an interesting angle because maybe we all start to use these tools just willy-nilly and don't think twice about it. And it's a new type of tool. When the internet first came out, I don't think we were thinking about like environmental impact. We were just Googling stuff. I mean, that was after the internet had already come out. But anyway, the point is, like, a lot of these tools just get adopted and there isn't really as much of an environmental impact, or maybe a linear impact that you might expect with heavier use of energy and things. But with AI in particular, also with cryptocurrency, it seems like there's a very high, with Bitcoin in particular, there's a really high like impact to the energy usage of these things. And in order to provide enough data centers to run all this infrastructure, they take a lot of power and a lot of water to cool them, et cetera. And there's a real environmental impact from all that. I think it's worth having that conversation at some point soon.
I am in full agreement with that. I would like to, first of all, learn more myself about that too, so I can speak better about it. But I think that's a very interesting point that he brought up. It really sparked my curiosity.
Yeah, and there may be alternatives like running local models on your own hardware, which uses energy locally, but not in a data center, which draws much more power more intensely. And also the privacy benefits of running it locally as well.
Yeah.
Seems like there's definitely some options there. Thanks, everybody, for listening to another fine episode of Command Control Power. We really appreciate you showing up for our live recordings. Our patrons have that as a benefit, so thanks. Good to see you all. And we appreciate everybody listening week after week. And again, thanks for supporting us on Patreon. If you'd like to join our esteemed colleagues on Patreon to support us and get access to all the extra content that we post there in a private podcast feed, go to commandcontrolpower.com and click on support. And thanks, everybody, for listening. See you next week.
Jerry does his voices of customers of all kinds.
Am I on the cloud?
Joe spins his deeply detailed yarns all the time.
I have a whole story about this.
Sam is on the road again, phoning in from a hotel.
At least we know where I am.
Half a century combined of Apple expertise right now. My Mac is slow. Have you tried restarting? Well, the fans won't blow. Have you tried restarting? But my data is gone. Have you tried restarting? I dropped it